Might be a little easier these days, but for the most part, we aren't all in the same room, if you will. And this is an opportunity for the boards and committees to discuss what's going on and just for each of us to say hello. So I'm going to turn this over to Justin, let him make a few more comments, and then we'll do a quick non-arranged participation before we get into the agenda for each committee to talk about what they're working on. But it's good to see everybody, and thanks for joining us tonight on this fifth Monday of March. Justin?
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, I think you covered it pretty well. But yeah, the last time we did a all committees meeting was in 2019. 2020 got a little sidelined, if you will. But when we did it in 2019, things seemed to go pretty well. Everybody who attended had only positive things to say. But it really gives everybody a chance to get together and talk as a group about, what all of our boards and committees are doing, and hear about things that we might not otherwise hear about. If Parks and Rec has something going on, the DDA might not hear about it until it gets to council and kind of goes in reverse. But this is a good opportunity for everybody to kind of hear what each board is doing, and for each board to solicit feedback from all of the other boards and committees. What we'll do is we'll invite the chair, vice chair of each board to come up and introduce the folks that are in attendance from their board, talk a little bit about what they have going on, solicit feedback if they're interested and have something that they have on their mind and want to talk about. And then maybe at the end we'll get into some Q&A if folks want to get into some conversation.
Sounds good, Justin. Does anybody have any questions before I jump into non-arranged participation? Okay. Well, this is a public meeting, and next up on the agenda is non-arranged participation. And so if you need to use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen to signify that you'd like to say something today, we're happy to take some public comment. I'll remind you that you have, typical rules apply, 5 minutes. State your name and address if you do desire to talk. If you've called in, I'm looking here, I see only Carol. Doesn't look like we have too many call-ins, but if you've called in and want to signal by using *9 off of your phone, that's another way to raise your hand. Is there anyone online with us tonight that wants to speak under non-arranged? Justin, I'm not seeing anybody. If you could do a double check to make sure I'm not missing a hand somewhere.
I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay. All right, then we will jump into item 3 on the agenda. First up is our Arts, Culture, and Heritage Committee.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sanam Arab, and I'm the current chair of Arts, Culture, and Heritage Committee. And I see some of our committee members on the line. Phil Arbor, Rich Bellas, Meredith Geltner, Lynn Babcock, and of course, Donna Fisher from the City Council, who is our representative. I don't know if there is anybody else there I'm missing or not that just joined, but I believe we are it for tonight. So this year, as you know, and for everybody, it has been a very difficult and challenging year. And our goal at Arts, Culture, and Heritage Committee has been to see if we can continue some of our projects, bring some activities to the community, some people to our businesses, and frankly, to bring something positive to our town in this difficult time. I have to say that I really appreciate, and I'm sure it's very similar with other committees, I really appreciate everybody at ACH's participation. I know for many of our members, they had to juggle many things with family and concerns and work and things like that, but they all participated and helped to move activities for the community forward, and I really appreciate that. So some of the things we have done this year, and I'm gonna kind of talk a little bit about the things we did in 2020 and kind of the version of them that we will be doing for 2021. So one of the main things was that we were able to continue Paint Dexter Plein Air Festival in 2020 in a very different format than our usual, but we were one of the only plein air festivals that happened and did not fully cancel, which brought a lot to our artists and to our community. Generally with Paint Dexter Festival, we have about 75 artists participating. And even though we had much smaller number of them this past year, the fact that we were able to have that for them, that for some of them, this was the only source of revenue, was very heartwarming. So we received a lot of encouraging words. So basically, because the Paint Dexter, the painting side of it, artists can just be by themselves and painting scenes of Dexter, it was easy to do it during a pandemic and with social distancing. And in terms of the big event of selling the art, we turned that into an online sale version. And we are hoping that actually for 2021 to do the same thing. As we know, people are slowly getting vaccinated, guidelines are slowly changing. However, we thought that for August, we would not be able to plan in a way that we would like for our usual plein air. So we are continuing with the same format from August 16th to 20th this year as well. It also gives us a chance that next year, Paint Dexter Festival will celebrate its 10th anniversary. So we'll come back big with a good event, hopefully. Other than that, we have been working on some projects that were generally part of what we thought would be other than Paint Dexter Festival. And for those, we were not able to do much in the pandemic, but we are having those submitted as part of our master plan to the council for their consideration for the following years. The other big project that we have coming up, and is for the next few years, is participation in bicentennial events for 2024. And we are very happy that and thankful that council just passed our proposal for arts, culture, and heritage community to be the coordinating organization for the events of 2024 bicentennial celebration and oversee the marketing aspect of it. So we will be getting together in our next ACH meeting to have a subcommittee that will work on this project moving forward for the next few years, and basically reach out to other organizations and groups in Dexter who are planning their bicentennial events for us to have a cohesive approach. And finally, I would like to talk a little bit about our work on the temporary art selection for the city. We, in participation with Art Selection Committee, just gave recommendations to the city for this year's temporary art. And this year we actually have one extra spot. So we are selecting 4 pieces, and the new spot. So usually we have at front of La Fontaine, Mill Creek, by the library. And this year there is a new spot by the clock tower in downtown. So we are expanding in that area, and we are very excited about that, as the recommendations have just gone through the council as well. So those were the main things we have been working on. We are very excited and looking forward to 2021 and what we will be presenting to you all in the city this upcoming year. I don't know if any of my colleagues on the committee would like to add anything to my report, but that's pretty much all I have.
I see Chet has his hand up.
I'm curious to know what the status of the repairs to the troll is. And I'm curious to know what the cost for the repair of that is also.
Sure. So we have been in communication with the troll sculptor. She's aware of the damage. She's been out to take a look at it, and she's planning to set a date this spring or summer once the weather is consistently warm to come out and do the repairs. We don't yet have a quote on what the cost is going to be.
Why? I see you have your hand up
Yes,
from City
thanks.
Council.
Yeah, thank you. So as many of you know, I was on ACH for most of last year, and I will echo what Sanam said, that, you know, I feel the committee did a really good job trying to come up with ideas to be a bright spot in the year that we all had together. And I'm really proud of the work that we did together, and I'm proud of the work that you guys are continuing to do. I was really thrilled to see the bicentennial on the city council agenda. I think that you guys will do a great job coordinating that effort, and I hope I mean, I know it's going to be a really great event for us. And I'm glad to know that, you know, Paint Dexter is going to go on the way it went last year, because I felt that that went well. And as Sanam said, you know, it was a bright spot for artists, and I hope that they feel that way again this year.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Wah. Sanam and ACH, the floor is still yours. Anybody? Okay. Well, maybe
I
we'll
think we are, thank you, Sean. I don't see anybody from the ACH that is raising their hands, but we appreciate the support. We appreciate the participation, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions. Hopefully next year we can do this in person, so we can see some familiar faces and meet all of you that we haven't in person.
Well, thank you. There might be a question that comes up after we hear from others, so don't leave the meeting, okay? Next up is our Downtown Development Authority. And our chair, I think, is here, right? Doug, are you
Thanks,
here?
Sean. I am here, Sean. Thank you. Well, I'd like to recognize some of the members of the committee that are here tonight. I see Patrick Becker, Rich Bellis, Phil Mikas, Carol Jones. Sean is the mayor who also attends. He gives this report, and the staff person is Michelle. So thank you so much for showing up tonight and being part of this. As many of the committees, I'm sure we dealt with some very difficult year with the COVID kind of derailing our focus, which was to redo our strategic plan. The last time we had done a strategic plan was back in 2006. And so, as we've all known, Dexter's changed considerably since that point in time. And so we're working very hard to try to find ways to get together and think about ways that we can do that without actually able to attend. And we just feel like to do the appropriate strategic plan, we need to do it in person, and over Zoom just doesn't work. It doesn't bring enough collaboration. So we put that to the side and are just, we decided our focus should be in shoring up our financials, getting our balance sheet so that when COVID ends and Broad Street gets going and some of the other developments that's happening, we'll have a larger pot of money to tackle some of the bigger issues that come from the strategic plan. And that's kind of the whole idea of what we've gotten. We've been paying the city back our property purchase. We've accelerated payments on the DTE substation property swap. We've contributed to the maintenance of the downtown, and been a little bit consumed with the tax of the 5 healthy towns, or what we know as Chelsea Wellness or Dexter Wellness Center. That's taken some time and energy. And so that's kind of been what we've been doing, as well as you've seen the barricades up. We've had the tents up for about a month and a half to help the local businesses. We tried to find ways with the social district and to support our businesses to be able to do sidewalk sales and areas that would be safe, that people can still come downtown and enjoy what the city of Dexter has to offer in these difficult times where we have protocols that change almost by the week. And so that's kind of really the focus of what we've been doing in the past. And I think as we look forward to this next year, the hope is we'll be able to tackle at least the start of the strategic plan. We'll continue to support the businesses' creative ways in which they can bring people downtown. And then also to take a look at the Broad Street Development Project with our partner Norfolk and see if we can accelerate getting something going on that piece of property as well. Unless somebody else in the committee has something they want to say, we can open it up for questions. Patrick or Rich or Phil or Carol, you have anything? I guess I covered them all. So if anybody would like to have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I think Mike Fitzpatrick just joined us too, unless I missed him earlier.
All right.
Oh, I did just tune in.
All right.
Hey, welcome, Mike.
Yeah, thanks.
Welcome,
I'm late.
Mike's been the one that's really responsible for shoring up the financials and handling those financial reports. Appreciate it, Mike.
I just show them as they are. We're all doing a good job over here.
I have a question. What's been the hit on the DDA for the loss of funds for 5 Healthy Towns building?
It's significant to the point where we had to go through the process. We felt as though it was important to go through that, but the actual hit on the tax would depend naturally on what the valuation of that building would be. Somewhere in excess of $80,000 a year. I don't know, Sean or Mike, if you have any.
Yeah,
More
it's a little higher than that. It's a little over 100,000 a year would have been the DDA's return, Phil.
And how has that affected your budget? Drastically, I don't know what your reserves are, so.
Yeah, it obviously took a hit, changed some things, but there's been significant development in some of the other areas in the city of Dexter that have kind of supplemented that lost income a little bit. Some of the bigger projects, maybe tackling some of the rubbish and some of the parking, we probably kind of had to extend out a little bit, maybe plans in the future, but $100,000 is significant for the DDA budget and would represent a significant sum of money.
Yeah, to give you a perspective, Phil, our revenues, our tax increment revenue, if you remember, the DDA collects the taxable value over and above the cities. The tax increment revenue each year is about $450,000 or $460,000 or something like that. Okay, it might be up close to 500 now, but 100,000 a year would have represented another 20% of what we were capturing.
Significant. Thank you.
Hey,
Good
Doug.
question, Phil. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Chet. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you. Hey, maybe you covered this and I missed it, but what's the status of the 3045 Broad Street project? Do you know, or does someone on staff know?
It has stalled a little bit. And I think they're trying to creatively find ways to kind of meet the needs that were brought about from all the beignets, as well as budget, as well as, not overwhelming the city with a lot of condos or residential that seems to be popping up. So I think they're creatively trying to figure this out. But I think it's stalled somewhat, and we're going to try to re-engage them here soon.
Good.
Yeah, Chet, just to add to that, the last I heard was that Norfolk had been talking with the two property owners east on Forest from the vacant parking lot or the gravel parking lot, become the gravel parking lot. If everybody knows where that is, right at Broad and Forest.
Right.
And I believe that Norfolk has either entered into or just darn near entered into conditional purchase agreements with those two properties, because if you remember the configuration of that third building, the building furthest away from the park, in their draft concept plan, there was an L shape to that building.
Right.
So I believe that they have those two residential properties in some type of conditional purchase agreement. So that if they want to bring forward the L building, they can. I think we last heard from Norfolk just prior to the election in the fall
Okay.
at council. Karen Roberts has her hand up.
It's just a follow-up question on 3045 Broad. Is the L building the only building that's really been contemplated at this point?
That's the only building that I believe they have said the pro forma works in terms of, making the return on investment that they would want to build it. The other two are complicated by the fact that there's, the contaminated soil over there. So that's the building that they thought they could make a return on investment for, soonest on. But obviously they haven't approached the city with a formal site plan or anything like that, so. Okay, are we good with the DDA? For now, anyway?
I have a question,
Okay,
short question. That is, how many houses are between Broad Street and the alley that goes down the middle of that block? There's only 3,
Yes, 3.
so you're gonna have one house left on the alley.
as I understand it, they were talking with 2 property owners. So I
Okay,
think so, yes.
thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Those are all good questions. Keep them coming. We want interaction in this, so. Okay, I think we'll move on and get an introduction from the Parks and Recreation Commission. I'm not sure Becky, our chair, is on. I think she's our chair, right?
Yep, but Becky is not going to be able to be here tonight. So Tony Henkemeyer is the vice chair,
Okay,
and she is on.
great. Tony,
Well,
welcome.
Well, thank you. So today we've got a couple of committee members with us. Joanne Wagner and Ron Miller is joining us, and Jamie from the City Council is our rep. Things that we did last year and the year before included, or we're working on, is the Mill Creek slope restoration that's right underneath the farmer's market. We did some invasive removal or non-invasive removal of the plants there, and then we're gonna next year we're going to do some planting in that area just to make that slope a little nicer looking. We are working on figuring out what to do with the beavers that have arrived in the Mill Creek. We haven't quite decided on that, but we are doing our research. We also were creative last year. Joanne was actually very creative last year with the Easter egg hunt that got canceled, quickly before we had much notice. And this year we decided that we were going to do more of a find the Easter painted sign in each of the parks, and then give prizes for kids that are able to find the signs. And it's kind of a word scramble. It's pretty cool. I hear that that there's a lot of chatter about this activity in town, and so I'm I don't know, I'm proud that our little council decided to come up with something that was more creative. We spent a lot of time working on our master plan, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. We also worked last year on maintenance plan. We've got lots of beautiful park area, as you all know, and I think we all feel that it's important to keep it up. So once it's done, we felt that it was important to have some kind of a plan to make sure that we kept the the beauty as it was when it first, when those parks first were created. So we did, we worked on some professional and contract services and tried to make the budget a little more robust as far as the maintenance for the parks. The budget for next year includes looking at a new playground in Mill Creek, working on some of the Dexter Chelsea border to border connection if we can, and then of course doing some planting on that slope on Mill Creek. Our master plan included input from the public. We did some, as much as we could, Zoom input, which was small, but we were able to do some Qualtrics kind of surveys to the public. And what we've learned from them was that there was a lot of support for trails and pathways. That was for sure a major area of interest for our city residents. They also liked the playground ideas. They were interested in maintenance and keeping the parks looking good as we could. Then there was there was interest in public bathrooms, someplace where while you're in the parks, you can use the facilities without having to use a porta potty. So our master plan is 2021 to 2026. We have to do it every 5 years in order to be relevant for if we want to apply for any grants or anything. So in that action plan for our master plan was Mill Creek Trails, looking at long-term maintenance, doing the border-to-border connection, play structures, and then a Huron River access and natural utility. We want to keep that Huron River and the Mill Creek as vibrant and as clean as we possibly can. And so working with various organizations, Huron River Watershed, et cetera, to make sure that we maintain and improve in those spaces if we can. And then of course, always on our list is a public restroom. Does any of our committee members, Ron or Joanne, have anything to add?
Yeah, Ron Miller here. Just want to say that actually one of the things about the Easter egg hunt that we did was we were trying to focus on ways this year where we could increase the awareness of all the different parks. And this actually played in really nicely with the way the committee came up with the hunt, is trying to make sure every park was represented and it would encourage people to go to each of those parks and familiarize them with the location. And I think that really, the survey sort of pointed out that there is a lack of familiarity with, a lot of the parks outside of the Mill Creek and Monument Park. And so we want to, hopefully we'll increase that, and we'd like more attention paid to that and other kinds of things that we might do and suggestions you all might have for us, the way we can increase awareness and uses of the different parks. Yeah, I think that's.
I would like to add in also that usually each year we have a community cleanup day. Unfortunately, in 2020, I don't believe, Justin, we were not able to do that.
Correct.
So hopefully maybe this coming fall, that might be an opportunity for us to put out on social media a way for the community to get involved to help us keep the parks clean and maintained.
Oh, and we did have a couple of really, I think some interesting ideas that are coming from the public on ways to put activities in some of the parks. So I think the council might see some, hopefully we'll see some plans and ideas about some public suggestions of what we might do, activities or things we might have in the parks. The ping pong tables, well, I guess the tables is the idea that came out most recently.
Well, the Easter eggs are drawing a lot of attention. There's a lot of people riding around and finding them and marking down that they've recorded the letter. So good job creating an interactive opportunity. Why? I see you have your hand up, and then Rich Bellis after that.
I do, and mine falls more under the heading of, we probably would have covered this if we had an actual social moment before this meeting, but Joanne, I just want to say that I know that you have been very vocal on social media, trying to keep our river patrons safe. And as an avid kayaker, I really appreciate that. And, I appreciate all that you do in that area as well as on parks.
Thank you. Yes, every spring early on, I put a PSA out on Friends of Dexter and on a Chelsea site as well. I live right on the Huron River by the cider mill. So just sort of highlighting what needs to be, what you need to do to be prepared to be on the river, and some safety guidelines as well. So
I have also rescued people, so I understand where you're coming from and I appreciate it.
thank you. Thanks.
Rich?
Had a quick question with parks with respect to the ACH committee. Has there been any feedback, positive or negative, on the art that's located in the parks? Is it too much? Is it not enough? Are there other spots considered that would be viable for art, or anything that relates to the ACH committee?
I have to say, in our surveys that we've done or any public input, nothing that stands out in my mind as being a comment. There was some negative comments on a couple of the sculptures that we chose, but it's art, so people can have different feelings about different things that we put up, but nothing like we need more or we need less. I think one of the comments that we should remember when we work on the art selection is the safety, that if we have to make sure that if we're gonna put it in the public area, that it's a safe piece of equipment that can't hurt anybody. But that was about it, really.
Thank you.
Good question, Rich.
Mhm.
I thought you were going to ask about bike racks. Or no, maybe that's our next guy, the chair of our planning commission, Matt Kowalski.
Okay, oh, I'm on. All right. Good evening, everybody. I think everybody probably knows me. Just introduced Matt Kowalski, of course. We have several members of our planning commission, I think online still. So it looks like we had Allison, Chet, Wah is our council rep to the planning commission. Karen, Kyle, I think that's, and our student rep is, yes, Aiden. All right. Great. Well, thank you. And one of the exciting things over the past year is we have had several new members. I think, am I 3 or so? Chet being among them. Waz, our council rep. Doug, we're missing a couple others. So it's been a good year. We missed our past planning commission members because everyone's been great, but it's good to have some a new perspective into the mix as well. So that's been kind of an exciting thing. And just like every other commission, I think for the most part, we've adapted pretty well to the virtual meeting environment. I think in many ways, it's been helpful that I think that we can reach a lot more people, and that it's we've had people able to listen in online, and maybe a little bit more public participation. It's kind of hard to tell, but either way, I think that's an exciting element of meetings that maybe in some way we can incorporate going forward. Anyway, so our big activities over the last year, we've worked on a couple of big things. Right now, really, we've had our master plan update, which was something that we had finished and that we're kind of taking to the next step, which will be the zoning ordinance that that is being worked on now by a subcommittee of the planning commission. The zoning ordinance, we're looking at all kinds of different ways to kind of help change our zoning to fit that master plan and get the things that we really want. So that will be working for the next year. But going back over the past year, we've had a couple of larger site plans, main ones being the Hilltop with the PUD zoning, as well as the site plan that went along with that. Another exciting one, I think, was the Encore Theater, which I'm sure everybody is aware of. That we had a couple meetings, but I really think everybody was excited about that project. And I think it really turned out for the best for the community, as well as hopefully the Encore. as well. And then some other minor site plans, but we haven't had other really large ones, but there's been some additions to places within the industrial park as well, which again, that's great to see investments in our community. Text amendments. There's been a couple of exciting ones that we've worked on there. Things like the bed and breakfast, short-term rentals, which again is a kind of a hot button issue, I know, and something we wouldn't have necessarily thought about a couple of years ago. So we've had to work to adapt our zoning ordinance to that. One of the big ones we're working on now is the ADU, so the accessory dwelling unit ordinance. So that's, again, we want everybody to kind of be aware of that and see what we're working on there, because we think that's an exciting opportunity to bring a kind of a neat use to, well, actually, I shouldn't even say bring it to our community. I mean, there's many of them that are still around within our community. So hopefully we can expand that, keep it within the community goals and fit them nicely and address some of our goals from affordable housing, as well as aging in place and just really making a complete livable community. So I think the ADU ordinance will go a long way to that, hopefully. And we're still working through that one, but we're pretty close on that. I believe actually we may have, Michelle, our public hearing might be the next month or so, right? We're coming up. So yeah, okay. So everybody please be aware of that. The outdoor service areas, again, obviously with the COVID, we've adapted some of the ordinances, and that was a really great one too. That kind of kudos to our staff and really everybody in council that we've adapted pretty well as a community to be able to change some of the ordinances to allow the outdoor service areas to expand, to hopefully help our businesses, at least, give them a little bit more of an extra push to get them across this finish line for that. So I think, and even some changes we did to things like outdoor seating, which in the past planning commission would have had to review like layouts, which really wasn't necessarily a value added element there, where it's something that staff can clearly go through, look at the zoning and make a decision on there. So those are positive changes, I think, which help the community as well as business owners, hopefully with that. Other things, so of course, now I'm looking at through the notes, a couple of, let's see, we've got, the CIP, which is something we work on every year. So the capital improvements plan. So that I think most people are probably aware of that. It's really our larger items in the community. It kind of starts as a planning commission item, ultimately goes through for city council. But these are the larger items like street reconstruction, sidewalks, DDA projects, things like that. It helps get them out there for the community, us as planning commission to look through them, help rank them among priorities. And then obviously that's the next step is for council and their approval on that. So we'll be looking over that shortly. Again, I think next month is our capital improvements, or in the next month or so. I looked at Michelle. Oh, there she's nodding. Okay, thanks, Michelle. I think that's kind of it, I think, for the next year or so. But yeah, and so I'll look to some of the other planning commission members. I think, again, it's kind of an exciting time. I like that. In some ways, we had a little bit of a downturn in some of the development where that gives us an opportunity to work on these ordinances. That zoning ordinance, as I mentioned earlier, is really an exciting, we have our subcommittee working on that, meeting monthly. And so we're getting updates on that. So to try and kind of break it down into pieces, and then we can tackle it. It'll be easier for the planning commission to review things and go forward that. And probably, I imagine, going forward to council as we look through different items and giving guys updates on that. So now's the time. If anybody out there wants to, look at the zoning ordinance, open up, give us your suggestions. We're always willing to listen. I see Karen Roberts.
One thing I just want to remark on the sort of things that we've tackled this year is what it represents. And I think Michelle deserves a lot of credit for this. And I think the planning commission has jumped on board right away, is a real responsiveness to what members of the community bring up. There's a long list of things that we can tackle, but prioritizing has been really a response to what people want. ADU, that's one that came to us, is really take a look at this. There's a need here. Similar with not the B&B, but what am I trying to say? Airbnb kind of
rentals.
Yeah. Encore. They obviously that came to us through the community, but that was another one. I think that's something that I'm raising it mainly because I hope more people will not look at the planning commission as this, unfortunate block to what they want to do. Because for the most part, I think our perspective, particularly this year, has been, how can we make this happen and still, protect the community and along many dimensions. So I just thought I would raise that.
Yep, great. Thank you, Karen. Other planning, I see Joe Samfara has a hand up. Did any other planning commissioners want to add anything really quick about?
I'll just, as the new person on there, I will second what Karen just said. I don't have a background in planning, and I was pleasantly surprised in joining the committee to see that it is that, what she said is true. It's very responsive to what the community is bringing forth, and I'm enjoying being a part of it.
Thank you. And chat, sorry, Joe, I'm not ignoring you. I just thought get through some planning commissioner.
I don't really have anything to add. I'm new to the commission myself. And so I second everything Wa was saying. I'm impressed with how well the planning commission seems to work and how well Michelle and the other staff that have been involved keeps us up to speed and make sure that we do the things that we need to do. So I've been enjoying my time.
Yes, thank you, Michelle, for keeping me on task usually. Okay, Joe, sorry.
No problem. You mentioned, Matt, the ADUs and the affordable housing. When we worked on the housing task force, Mike and Michelle did a really good job of cataloging and collecting a lot of information, and some of the different members on the task force brought forth some different studies and things that were done. One big aspect of that affordable housing is that part of the driving force behind not having affordable housing is zoning ordinances, but it's a very long-term type of thing. It's not like you change it and all of a sudden everything changes. So is that something that, have you collected that information from the housing task force, the database that's there, and incorporated that into the discussions and talked about that as a specific point of something as far as when looking at the zoning ordinance? I know we don't do it very often, so it seems important to do it while we have the opportunity.
Oh yeah, I think, and I'll ask if Michelle have her voice back, but to add, but we have had access to that information, yes, from that housing report, because that's been very, very valuable. So absolutely. I mean, I don't know that, I can't remember if we have specifically discussed like certain sections out of it, but we reference that. And the fact that, again, that's a great example, because that was another task force for everybody listening to, kind of the housing task force that helped, I don't want to say create an idea, but helped bring something to us, like to create some background that got this interest driving us towards that, because ADUs are something that I think we've identified for a while. So the housing task force definitely did help contribute to that, and other things that we can do as a community as well. But that was one item that I think we kind of picked out. We can only pick pieces probably at a time. So, but that was one of the, I think the first one that we picked, and it's not an easy one to pick, but so we've referenced that, and how can we make the zoning ordinance fit those goals? And there may be some tweaks that we need to do with that.
Okay, thanks, man.
Thank you. And other planning commissioners, thoughts on that? Or non-planning commissioners, I guess?
I have a question.
Sure.
Jill Arbor here. I believe at the forum, it was mentioned that we're considering or looking into form-based code design. I think Mrs. Roberts brought that up. I'm trying to understand what that means.
Well, that's that's a good. We could have a whole meeting on that. It's really it's in a discussion now, but really a form base is dealing more with, well, the form really, than not so much as the uses within that, but kind of creating what that helps do is, like, maybe you look at a downtown and a form-based code. We know what we like in that downtown, but it doesn't matter as much as how those uses play within that, as long as we get kind of the form that we like. And like that includes setbacks, height, some design aspects and things like that. I mean, uses are obviously figured in there as well, but kind of a form base starts starts really there, and how we design our buildings or how they fit together in that community. But that's a really rough way of, and a really quick way of going over that. But I don't know if Michelle, I see Kyle has a hand up as well that might want to add a little bit to that. But again, we thought that a form-based code is one way to help get the community the designs and the layouts and the land design that we like. And those are things that are identified in the master plan, and hopefully our zoning ordinance gets us there. But a form-based code really is focused more on, again, the form of how all these structures fit together on a streetscape.
It's one of the reasons I asked about that one remaining building on Forest and
oh, on the house, yes.
Yeah, the only building left in that nest for that whole half a block, which is a big block in,
yes.
in that area. And how it relates to current land use within residential, industrial park, or is this going to be isolated strategically for commercial retail businesses?
What,
or is that a starting point? Or
it's a starting point. I think we haven't got to a level. I mean, we are just starting these discussions, but initially it would be really more of a commercial, the downtown, the corridors type of things, not really into the residential neighborhoods, but really kind of more of the mixed use districts and things like that. Again, where if you look at a downtown and whether you want that form there, but that mix of uses, whether it's residential upstairs or office or retail, it has that same form. But so really it would be initial with commercial mixed use, but we haven't got to the level of assign. I mean, you can do it a couple of different ways. You can assign a whole rezone a community like that, or you could do it as overlays, but I think we're a ways from, and those are all things that we need community, and we will get community input for. We decide exactly how to assign these districts and a little bit more of what they look like. But it's very early in our discussion now so far.
Thanks.
And I see Kyle and Michelle. Yeah, please, Kyle or Michelle, add anything to that or correct me.
I would add that we're working on posting some form-based code informational resources to the city website. They'll be linked on the zoning ordinance update subcommittee page. So those should be posted this week. Oh, and the subcommittee, it will be a topic that the zoning ordinance update subcommittee will be looking at their upcoming meeting and likely at the next meeting as well. So feel free to attend or forward any comments that you have about form-based code.
Yeah, am I coming through?
Yes, Kyle, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Yeah, so I just want to second that basically. And, you know, we've been looking for a easy and useful way to kind of describe form-based to everyone so they can kind of get on board and kind of see what the idea is. And I think one of the better documents I've found, Mike has recently included it in the city update. It's written by the form-based code folks, which are also like the CNU folks. And it was for Delaware, but it's pretty general information, which I think is better than some of the stuff that I've found from the state of Michigan. But it really does a good job at looking at pros and cons, the differences between a traditional like Euclidean zoning, which is what our code is now, kind of the old style and the new style, and what kind of opportunities that gives. So if you get a chance to go through that, I definitely suggest it. And then that one, to me, that Delaware document is one of the better kind of crash courses. It's, I don't know, 20 pages or something, but with a lot of graphics and, you know, a little breakout and things. So anyway,
I'll be down at the
so there you
village
go.
office looking for that link. Thanks.
Sure.
Wah?
Bill, I'll just briefly add to that as a newbie to the whole form-based code thing myself. My high level understanding of it thus far is that it's something that will help our city continue to look like our city and less like something else. And
Very well
correct me if
said.
I'm wrong, guys, but that's sort of the very 30,000 foot overview I have of the difference between traditional code and the form-based code.
We can design more of what we like through the forms and get more
Yeah.
of what we don't, or get less of what we don't like.
So you're gonna put a doctor's office or a dentist's office in a building that looks like a house adjacent to a residential area, but not truly commercial or those type of things. So you got the same setbacks, you got the same look, the same driveway look. You got a general appearance that you're fond of, and then you want to expand the utility of the site.
That could be one way of doing it. Again, yeah,
Good way,
absolutely.
yeah. That's the carrot side where you're, you know, you're actually encouraging investment and development, you know, by somewhat regulating the urban pattern that you know, predominates. Now, on the other hand, you're also preventing some scenarios that you wouldn't want to see happen. For example, I mean, under our current zoning, someone could come in, they could buy up the bakery and the hardware and the flower shop, and they could rip that whole thing down. They could put it in a parking lot with a liquor store. And there would be nothing to stop that. So, or to encourage the, you know, recreation of, you know, what's there. So that it really is it's really interesting once you get into it. And I don't know how else to say it. But I think I appreciate Wa getting into it, kind of dipping her feet into it. I'm kind of new to it too. Of course, I'm not a planner. I'm just an amateur citizen. But anyway.
Exciting.
So, but yeah, it's all fun. I hope you guys like it.
Any other planning commission questions for us? Any commission members, anything? So lots of exciting stuff going on. Please, when anybody gets an exciting idea, some way to change the code, let Michelle know. We can run it up through us and we'll see if it goes anywhere. But that's how the ideas start. So we have to start somewhere, and I think that through all of these, we filter through the ideas that don't work, and we'll get you something that works for everybody. That's how the process works usually.
Good update, Matt.
I tried.
Thanks, everybody who contributed to that. Okay, we'll move down to Zoning Board of Appeals. I think Phil Meckes is on somewhere, if I remember seeing him.
Hey, Sean. Yep, I'm here.
Good afternoon.
Good evening, everybody. I think I've got just one other person from the ZBA here. That's Chet. So he's on the board with me. We don't really have much to report. It's been kind of a slow year on the ZBA this year. We did have a couple of things that changed. I guess it was in the last 12 months, maybe a little bit longer ago than that. But we used to be able to approve zoning ordinance requests and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm already forgetting. I think it was 2 out of the 6 criteria, and now the person requesting the ordinance change has to fulfill all 6. Chet, maybe you can help me out with those 6 criteria. They're escaping me right this second.
I'd have to look it up myself. But
yeah. So anyway, that was our major change. It's not been a huge issue for us, and really the only thing that we've been able to do in this last year was an ordinance that we just were able to approve a change on for a homeowner to save a giant tree. I think it was a big hickory tree in their backyard, or hopefully save a big tree in their backyard. Yeah, hopefully. So we just answer questions when people come in front of us, basically. So we don't have much planning or any of that kind of stuff going on. But if there's any questions or anything that somebody would like to raise with us, feel free to ask.
Phil, the council rep to the ZBA, Zach has also joined us recently, or I think Zach, you joined the meeting. Did I see you on?
Yep, I'm not the council rep anymore to ZBA.
Yeah. Oh,
I am.
my bad, Jamie. I got the wrong. I was going by
That's
memory
fine.
from old times.
Yeah, I took over from there.
Help me though with some of those 6 The reason I'm thinking about Zach is because he's a planner by trade. Help me with some of those 6 criteria. There's, what is it? Something justice?
Like, right, substantial justice. I think Mike Auerbach would probably know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can spare you, Jamie, if you.
Yeah.
Yeah, help me with those. Let's get those out there, just as we brought up.
For dimensional variances, it's a practical difficulty, which is something unique to the property or land that makes compliance with the ordinance difficult. Substantial justice, which gets at is the variance being requested still consistent with what others can do with their property. Public health, safety, and welfare is will it further that? Will it not create a nuisance? Fairly straightforward. Is it consistent? Oh, is it self-created? Or and are there extraordinary circumstances related to the property? Is there something unique about this property that merits granting the variance request? And then lastly, I'm consistent with it. Oh, is it is the variance compatible with adjacent land uses?
Yeah, so what Phil's saying is when somebody requests a variance, it now has to meet all 6 of those criteria in one way, shape, or form, right? Before they could support it. Is that what he was trying to say?
Correct.
So it's a lot harder to get a variance.
Correct.
Got it.
That's all I've got for you.
Okay, anything more to add, Phil?
Nope.
No, it's a good report. I realize you don't meet every month out of necessity, so. The last listed board and committee on our agenda is the zoning ordinance update subcommittee. And since Joe's joined us as well, I thought we might as well get the board of review in there after that one too. So we'll get an update from our board of review since they just met in March. So I'm not sure who's going to lead off for zoning ordinance update subcommittee. Do they have a chair, Mike?
They do not.
Do you want to, Mike? Do you want to introduce who's on from that committee?
Sure. Oh, Wah, did you have a?
No, I was just saying, you can take the floor.
Okay.
You
Okay.
seem best suited.
Okay. Members are, there's representatives from City Council, the Planning Commission, and the Zoning Board of Appeals. They include Wah, Jamie, Karen, Kyle, and Tom Phillips, and Chris Wallaker from the ZBA, who I don't believe is with us tonight. Matt had already introduced some of the work that the subcommittee will be doing. They'll be continuing a zoning ordinance update that started in 2015 and paused in 2017. Now that for the master plan update, so the subcommittee will be resuming that work. Their schedule and the items they'll be discussing at each meeting, like I mentioned before, are posted on the city website. And when available, we'll also be posting supplemental educational information, like, for example, about form-based code, just other informational resources that are out there to kind of hopefully help inform the process. And also, like we mentioned before, please, if anyone has comments or questions about the update, please contact staff or any commission members, and more input, the better. And so that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Wow, Jamie, Kyle, anyone from that subcommittee want to say anything about it, or in addition, or no?
I mean, it's been going well. We've been working well together. Look forward to doing more of that. And Megan has been a great resource from Carlo Wortman. And, you know, I'm looking forward to digging into form-based code, really.
Good, thank you. Joe, can you provide us an update from the Board of Review?
Sure. We finished up. We had our last meeting last week. We're actually just waiting on signing off the final documents. Jim Smith joined the Board of Review. Carl Sperling is the chair, and Jim joined this year and replaced Pete Patsos from last year. And everything went well. We had a few people come in one business, I believe, and a few homeowners. We generally don't have too many people that come in, which I think is a testament to how well the assessing is going. It generally isn't too far off, and we generally don't have anybody coming in and saying, you know, this doesn't look right, you know, with any basis of something to work from. So Marie does a great job. And the other thing that Marie's been doing, being that we have some additional time when we're waiting for people to come in, she'll tell us about different aspects of the city and how she's partitioned them off and tried to work on different areas to improve the assessing overall, that it fits the methodology that she's been learning about and developing as she's gotten more experienced. And really, it seems like from Marie, what we've heard from Marie, that it's kind of a team sport. I know last year, Michelle helped out on comments about assessing when it came to the properties that are on Grand Street. So it seems that there's a lot of input from the entire office staff when needed for those type of items. So, and everything went well. We didn't have any surprises. You know, nothing really came up that we weren't able to handle with help from Marie, and it went well.
Thanks, Joe. Any questions for Joe? Okay, we've kind of run through all the different boards and committees. Does anybody have any general questions on anything they've thought of or want to go back to a certain board member or anything on? Joanne?
So I don't think it was discussed, maybe I missed it, that tree board merged in with Parks and Rec Committee. I don't know if that point was brought up, and that we are having an Arbor Day on, I believe, the first Saturday in May. And that we'll have 3 locations, the Dexter Library, the Clock Tower area, and the Dexter Mill. We'll be handing out seedlings for that.
Great, thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, that's true. We felt there was a lot of overlap between the tree board and the planning, or the Parks Commission, and merge those together. Michelle, and then Cole?
Yeah. Still fighting the laryngitis, so I will keep it short. Sean, can we say something about the EDC? Scott Mers is there, and you're also a member.
Sure.
Thank you.
I miss Scott. Welcome, Scott. So our EDC is our Economic Development Corporation. Scott, would you like to say hello?
That meeting must have started at 6.
I think he's actually off now, Sean.
Is he off? Okay, well, our Economic Development Corporation really is a committee that meets for the with the intention of helping either industrial properties or nonprofit properties have the ability to raise funding. So we meet once a year, typically in December, or as needed if there's a property that's looking to use that benefit. We haven't had somebody come and ask the city to issue bonds through our EDC, I believe since the United Methodist Retirement Communities did it up there near Gordon Hall. So it's been some time, but we meet once a year to approve minutes nonetheless, and Scott is a member of that corporation. Michelle, thanks for remembering. I didn't know that Scott was on. Thank you.
Thank
Cole?
you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just because it came up at the last city council meeting about different commissions' comfortability with live and recorded meetings. I feel like I remember the council already took action, but I didn't know if there was communicated.
Oh, yeah, we took action at the last meeting to put the Zoom recordings for City Council, Planning Commission, and ZBA on our website starting from last year in March when we started keeping them. So in order to increase the ability of residents and business owners and increase our transparency, people can go back and watch those meetings if they want to see the recorded meeting. Hopefully you have a way of fast forwarding through some of those things, because some of those meetings were pretty long, but they'll be available pretty much next to where there's going to be a link somewhere near where you can find the agenda and or the meeting minutes or the packet. You'll be able to click and it'll take you out. I think we agreed upon using a commercial site like YouTube because of the storage size of the files. But Justin's working on getting those links established.
I have started uploading them to YouTube. I have not yet worked with our website developer to be able to add the link onto the different boards and committee pages.
Okay. Tony, I see you have your hand up.
So just a question about the recordings. Are you going to keep doing that even after you're not doing Zoom anymore, or do you have a plan?
I think we do. We're evaluating a potential city office space right now that I don't think is too top secret, but there's some interest in 3515 Broad, which is the old mill down near the train tracks. And I think if we get back to where we have a meeting room of our own, we'll likely have it retrofitted with cameras and recording equipment that could, do the same thing for a public meeting as we're doing here on a Zoom meeting. We have talked about during our goal setting whether or not we should keep the ability for people to join meetings online. But the Open Meetings Act is only permitting this use of Zoom virtual meetings for we're only able to do it now through the end of the year because Washington County has declared, we're still in an emergency relative to the COVID environment. Once we come out of this, I think we'll have to have recording equipment within our open meeting space, our public meeting space. But I think there's value in it. We've certainly seen I think we've seen almost an increase in attendance with the Zoom meetings, frankly. I don't know if the other boards and commissions have received that, but I think we've noticed that the participant number has gone up for us on average.
I have a general question. Status of the vacant Julie's seat. Is there where's that stand right now?
So yeah, so Julie's last, she's still here. Yep, she's still here. She wanted to stop at the end of March. Chet, we have a newsletter coming out, and when council met a week ago today, we talked about making sure that we advertise that opening in the newsletter and give everybody a chance to get the newsletter to find out. We do our best with the email and Facebook and on the website, but not everybody necessarily looks there. So we're going to post that advertisement in the newsletter. And I think Justin and I talked earlier today, we're thinking that the opening that people should receive the newsletter sometime next week. So we'll take applications through maybe mid-April, April 16th or so, something like that. And then the process from there, just to finish out, once everybody applies, whoever it is that applies, we bring those names forward at the next public meeting and make everyone aware of who it is that's applied. And then I'll be interviewing those folks and bringing back a recommendation at the following meeting. Similar to when we filled the vacancy when Ray Tell stepped off.
Let me add this. I'm sure everybody agrees that Julie, you will be missed.
Thank you. Thank you.
For as long as you've been involved.
That's very kind of you. Thank you. Dexter's got a very good team of people representing it in all areas. So I'm confident that you will all do a good job.
I'd second that. Bill Arbor, thanks.
Thank you.
Well, if there are no more questions, Justin, do you have a wrap up?
Thank you for coming, everybody. I think this went well. I think it was our intention in 2019 to make this an annual thing. So mark your calendars for next year. So probably another 5th Monday.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
Good seeing you all.
Night.
Night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Great job.